Welcome to Indiana News Desk. I'm Joe Wren. All eyes are on the Indiana primary with just 4 days away. Presidential candidates are aggressively campaigning throughout the state, trying to win over voters. This is one of the rare years when Indiana could have a large impact on shaping the presidential election. The excitement in Indiana is at its height ahead of Tuesday's primary election. There's a lot on the line for the presidential candidates visiting the state this week, especially Republicans. Ted Cruz is focused on what he sees as a head-to-head fight with Donald Trump. Cruz and candidate John Kasich are working together in a coordinated effort to try and defeat Trump, with Cruz making multiple stops throughout the state this week. To try and boost his chances, Cruz announced Carly Fiorina as his pick for vice president at a rally in Indianapolis.
She knows firsthand that the key to economic growth is not government and more government. It is rather less and less government.
Donald Trump barely mentioned Cruz's pick during his visit to Indy the same day. He stood alongside legendary IU basketball coach Bobby Knight, who called Trump the most prepared man to become president.
You folks have a great opportunity here. You folks voting for Donald Trump and throwing him over the top.
If we win Indiana, it's over. It's over. And I can only promise you, it's over.
For Republicans, Indiana is the second largest state left among the remaining primaries. Trump, even as the runaway frontrunner, still needs about 502 of the remaining delegates to accrue a majority. With Indiana as a winner-take-most state, Trump needs to win the state to stay on pace to win the majority. Because Indiana is an open primary state, registered voters can vote for either party, which could benefit Trump.
People who are identify themselves as Democrats can and probably will vote in the Republican presidential primary. We know, for example, that Donald Trump has been drawing a fair number of Democrats in Republican primaries.
Hillary Clinton focused her efforts this week on northern Indiana with a strong emphasis on middle-class jobs and wages. She said revitalizing the manufacturing sector, an important industry in Indiana, is crucial.
I have a plan to invest $10 billion to bring unions, workers, businesses, universities, and the government together to create new manufacturing jobs.
Clinton's husband and former President Bill Clinton also campaigned on her behalf in Indianapolis. Opponent Bernie Sanders drew a large crowd during a stop on Indiana University's campus. It was an ideal setting for him to lay out what he calls the most progressive agenda in U.S. history. His platform includes free college tuition financed by taxes on Wall Street, universal health care, and a $15 an hour minimum wage. He says in Indiana, the top 1% is getting richer at the expense of other Hoosiers.
Here in the state of Indiana, for example, since 2007, real median income has gone down by more than $4,700.
Indiana could be Sanders' last stand. He's counting on large turnout from college students. A precarious situation to be in, Linkowski says, because they vote at lower rates than any other age group.
So the question is whether or not those college students who are feeling the burn will be more concerned to avoid bad grades than to go out and vote for somebody who by that time will be pretty close to out of the race.
Sanders acknowledged that if he doesn't win Indiana, he'll still try to win every delegate he can before the Democratic National Convention. His campaign said Thursday Sanders was steering much of his remaining effort to California's primary in June. And a win in Indiana is also critical for Cruz. Trump swept 5 East Coast states this week, so Cruz needs to win Indiana to keep his hopes of a contested convention alive. And that's where we'll ask Ted Carmines to join the conversation. Carmines is a political scientist at Indiana University. Thanks for being here today.
Oh, great to be here.
Crazy week, huh?
Oh, absolutely crazy, especially in Indiana, where we're not used to this attention this late in the campaign. So,
Well, and Cruz has been all over Indiana for more than a week now, although in a lot of the polls we see Trump ahead. Mathematically, what happens if Cruz doesn't win in Indiana?
well, it makes it very difficult for them to keep Trump from getting a first ballot nomination. It's really crucial for Cruz to win the state. Trump has got a lot of momentum from the victories he had on Tuesday, and if he wins this state, it's very likely that he'll go on and get the nomination. If Cruz were to win, then there's still some possibility that, not that he could get the nomination on the first ballot, but that he could prevent Trump from getting the nomination on the first ballot.
Well, and Cruz announced Carly Fiorina as his VP this week in Indianapolis. Now, is there any Indiana motivation behind that pick?
I don't think it has a lot to do with Indiana. I really think perhaps it will help him if he's still viable for California, where she's from, even though her electoral past there has not been that bright, but I still think it might help a bit there. She's much better known there, but I think it'll have a quite minimal effect here.
And just this afternoon, Governor Pence just endorsed Cruz. How will that affect voters?
Well, that's hard to say, but it should help in the Republican primary. Really, Cruz needs everything to go well for him to win this state, and maybe that'll add a little to his margin.
And then on the Democrat side, Bernie Sanders holding an event in South Bend on Sunday. How important would a win in Indiana be for him?
Well, it'd be extremely important. I mean, he's really hanging by a thread, and he needs lots of victories here, big victories, to catch Hillary Clinton. And so Indiana is really quite crucial to him.
And then, of course, Clinton currently holds more of the delegates, but Indiana would be huge for her, too.
Oh, yes. If she were to win Indiana, it's not as crucial on the Democratic side as the Republican side, but still, that would create a lot of added momentum for her and put her in a very strong position for these last few contests.
We'll find out all about it on Tuesday. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.